the Social Security benefits of roughly 3 million U.S. citizens have just gotten considerably bigger. You see, on January 5th, Joe Biden signed into law something known as the Social Security Fairness Act. Prior to him signing it, this bill passed both chambers of Congress overwhelmingly. Back in November, it passed the House by a vote of 327 to 75. And then later, it passed the Senate with a vote of 76 to 20, meaning that it had broad bipartisan support. And what this new law does is that it eliminates two provisions that have been in place within the Social Security framework for the past several decades. Quote, the new law will get rid of the windfall elimination provision, the WEP, and the government pension offset, the GPO, which previously limited the federal pension that public sector employees could receive based on their other income sources from state and other government pensions. Indeed, these two separate provisions were put into place roughly 40 years ago. The windfall elimination provision, it trimmed the benefits for public employees who also receive pensions that are not covered by Social Security taxes. And so, for instance, firefighters and cops, they get their own separate pensions, and so the amount that they receive elsewhere from state and local pensions was deducted from their Social Security benefits because of this particular provision. It also created a sort of awkward situation for people who happen to switch jobs going from the private sector over to public service. Quote, the previous windfall elimination provision rule impacted when someone switched jobs from one where they were contributing to Social Security to one where they contributed only to a pension and not Social Security. For example, let's say you worked in a high-earning executive role for 25 years and opted to transition to teach for the last 15 years of your career before you retire. Under the prior rules, your Social Security benefit based on those 25 years of work would shrink based on your pension income from the last 15 years of work. And so that was all the first provision. The second provision was called the government pension offset. This provision, it cuts Social Security benefits for the spouses and widows if they likewise receive public pensions outside of Social Security, such as state and local pensions. The idea behind these two provisions was that it prevented people from being able to so-called double dip into retirement benefits, since public sector workers, like again, teachers, firefighters, police officers, as well as all their spouses and all their widows, since they were eligible for state and or local pensions, they were largely excluded from Social Security. However, here's the thing. Many of these employees were still paying into Social Security. Millions of teachers, cops, and firefighters were still having Social Security deductions taken out of their paycheck. It's only when it came time for them to actually retire that their Social Security benefits were lessened because of their state pensions. Now, there is a bit of a nuance here, since not every public sector employee was paying into Social Security. It depended on many factors, such as the state you lived in, as well as what the terms of the Section 218 agreement that state had with the Social Security Administration. And so basically, some public sector employees did not pay into Social Security at all, while some did. And the ones who did got gypped on the back end when it was actually time for them to retire and collect their benefits. And this affected a lot of people. According to the most recent estimates that came from the Congressional Research Service, about 2.1 million people had their benefits cut because of the windfall elimination provision, and then roughly another 746,000 people were affected by the government pension offset. Meaning that by eliminating these two provisions, this new law, it gives roughly 3 million Americans a significant increase in their retirement benefits. And the increases are indeed significant. According to the Congressional Budget Office, getting rid of the windfall elimination provision will raise monthly benefits by roughly $360 on average for about 2 million Social Security recipients. That's $360 more per month. Then, by eliminating the government pension offset, the monthly benefits for spouses of public sector employees, they will increase by about $700 per month, while for surviving spouses, meaning widows, the increase will be an average of $1,190 per month. And of course, that's only for year one. These amounts will continue to increase with the annual cost of living adjustment. So given the average adjustment over the last decade, if you extrapolate it out 8 years into the future, those same spouses, they will now be getting $860 more per month, while the surviving spouses will be getting an additional $1,520 per month, while the average public sector employee themselves will be getting an additional $460 per month more 8 years from now. Regardless, though, while signing the bill into law, Joe Biden said the following, quote, by signing this bill, we're extending Social Security benefits for millions of teachers, nurses, and other public employees and their spouses and survivors. Also, the White House actually emailed us here at the Epoch Times with a statement saying that Biden signing this piece of legislation made him, quote, the first president in 20 years to expand Social Security benefits. And indeed, looking back through recent history, this was the first eligibility expansion of Social Security benefits in the last 2 decades, which is great for the recipients. However, it comes at a time when the entire Social Security system is facing the real prospect of becoming insolvent in the next 8 years. Now, we actually did do a full deep dive episode on why exactly it's heading for insolvency. If you want to pause this video and check it out, I'll throw that earlier episode. The link to it will be right there in the top right corner, or it'll also be down in the description box below if you want to watch the episode in its entirety. But the basic premise, if I can sum it up for you, is that for about 30 years, the taxes that the Social Security Administration was able to collect covered all the benefits that they had to pay out, plus a little bit was left over for the agency to invest. They set up a fund, and they were able to earn a decent return on their investment in the form of interest payments on this Social Security Trust Fund. However, eventually, because of the growing amount of people who are receiving benefits, as well as the growing size of the retiring age population compared to the number of workers who were supporting the system, the taxes by themselves no longer covered the benefits, and so the agency had to start using the interest that they were earning to cover the actual Social Security payments that were going out. But then, eventually, even that wasn't enough, and so now the agency is using the taxes they collect every year, the interest they generate every year, as well as the actual principal in the trust fund to pay out benefits every single year, which is a non-sustainable model. Eventually, in approximately 8 years' time, the money will run out. And so that is the general backdrop against which this most recent Social Security expansion took place, the one for public sector workers. All right, just to pause here for a super quick moment, I'd like to introduce today's sponsor by telling you about a new crime that's seemingly sweeping the whole nation. Right now, cyber criminals are targeting the equity in people's homes by stealing the title to those homes. Basically, the scam is that a criminal can transfer the title of your home into their name by forging a simple one-page document and then filing that document with the county. The document is completely fake, but on paper at least, they really did transfer the title of your home to their name. And then what the scammer does is they take out loans against your property, or even they sometimes sell it behind your back. And the worst part is that you won't find out that this actually happened until collection agents start calling you or foreclosure notices start arriving in your mailbox. But by then, the problem will have gotten quite large, and it'll be both expensive as well as a legal quagmire to actually fix. Of course, you can fix the problem, but the process might just cost you tens of thousands of dollars if it gets to that point. And so the best way to protect your home's equity is with triple lock protection from our sponsor, Home Title Lock. Basically, their triple lock protection is 24/7 monitoring of your home's title. If anything happens to your title, you'll automatically get an alert. And the best part is that if somehow a title thief is still able to get through, Home Title Lock will work to restore your title to your name with no out-of-pocket cost to you. They will pay for it all. And the best part is that right now, to our viewers, they're offering a great promotional sale. You can get a free title history report and a 30-day free trial of triple lock protection. Just head on over to their website. It's hometitlelock.com and use promo code ROMAN. That's ROMAN to get your free title history report as well as a 30-day free trial of triple lock protection. Again, that's hometitlelock.com. Use promo code ROMAN. The positive, though, in terms of the insolvency problem, is that these public sector workers represent a relatively small amount of the population. In total, these two changes will only affect about 4% of all Social Security beneficiaries. However, these 4% are getting a sizable increase, which translates to a decent chunk of money going out. According to the Congressional Budget Office, over the next 10-year period, these two changes will increase off-budget direct spending by roughly $211 billion, again, over the next 10 years, which sounds like a lot, but really it is only a drop in the bucket of the entire Social Security Administration spending. And also, there is the elephant in the room, which is that if nothing else changes, the fund that supports the whole Social Security program will actually run dry within roughly 8 years, so well before that 10-year span, and all Social Security recipients across the board will be forced to take a 23% haircut on all their benefits altogether. So that's sort of the pro and con of it. Regardless, though, the unions representing public sector workers were thrilled with this new change, as you would imagine. For instance, after Joe Biden signed this bill into law, the president of the International Association of Firefighters said the following, quote, "After 40 years of being treated like second-class citizens, a wrong has finally been righted, and millions of retirees can afford to retire with dignity and with the Social Security benefits they earned and paid into." Now, in terms of the next steps, if you happen to be one of the people covered by this change, then you really don't have to do anything. In fact, the Social Security Administration, they released a statement shortly after this bill was signed into law saying that they are working to implement the change ASAP, and they only advise people to make sure that their addresses and their direct deposit information that's on file is correct so that they can get their money as soon as it's ready. If you'd like to go through the details of anything that we discussed regarding this new change, including the text of the law itself, as well as the statement that came out of the Social Security Administration, I'll throw all those links down into the description box below so you can peruse them at your own leisure. And the only thing I ask in return is that as you're making your way down there to that description box, take a small detour to smash those like and subscribe buttons so that this information can reach ever more people via the YouTube algorithm. And then until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Stay informed, and most importantly, stay free.